This video contains full spoilers for Civil War 2024, including all major events and the ending. If you haven't seen the film yet and want to avoid spoilers, you may want to come back later. Civil War doesn't try to explain how an internal conflict begins. Instead, it shows what it turns into once it's already everywhere. This isn't a story about soldiers or politicians. It's a story about the people who document what's happening without having the power to stop it. In this video, we'll go through Civil War from beginning to end and explain what the ending really means. We'll move forward with full spoilers, and especially in the final section, we'll talk about why the film chooses to remain so disturbingly silent. From the very first minutes, the film pulls us in not with explanations, but with images. News reports play in the background, propaganda is written on walls. Something has clearly broken, but people are still going grocery shopping, filling their cars with gas, living as if this tension has simply become the background noise of daily life. This is where we meet our main characters, journalists. Lee is a seasoned war photographer who has spent years documenting conflict zones. The weight of everything she's seen is written all over her face. Joel is the kind of reporter who runs straight toward danger, chasing that one sentence, that one moment that will define the story. Fast, reckless, always pushing forward. And then there's Jesse, young, ambitious, still searching for meaning behind the camera lens. They decide to travel toward Washington, D.C., not to support a side, but to capture proof, evidence of history collapsing in real time. Because in this film, the prize of war isn't land, it's footage. And at this point, Civil War makes something very clear. As a country falls apart, the most dangerous thing isn't bullets, it's chaos becoming normal. Once the journey begins, the film isn't really following a route. It's following a feeling. They drive, and at every stop, a different version of America appears. In one place, bodies lie by the roadside, and no one looks twice. In another, armed men patrol neighborhoods as if they've casually decided to become the law. Then a moment hits, sudden, cold, brutal. Violence erupts so quickly that even as a viewer, you instinctively hold your breath. The film doesn't tell us that violence exists. It shows us how violence has become set dressing. At this point, the film deliberately refuses to let us breathe, because what happens at the next stop will permanently alter the balance within the group. Jessie initially uses her camera like a shield. She isn't the one pulling the trigger, she's the one taking the picture. But with every shot, her expression hardens, because the lens doesn't protect you, it only puts a thin layer of glass between you and reality. Lee has seen scenes like this before. That's why she doesn't talk much. But this time, even she encounters a moment where the violence she thought she understood catches her off guard. Here, the film makes its transformation clear. Watching violence eventually turns into participating in it, because if you can keep looking, something inside you has already changed. And that change is about to become visible through a reflex Jessie makes later on. Once that moment arrives, there's no turning back. Jessie's transformation is the backbone of the film. At first, she's energized. She feels like she's witnessing history. She believes the photographs will mean something. Every scene is an opportunity for one more powerful shot. But as the road stretches on, each image starts taking something from her. The curiosity in her eyes slowly turns into survival instinct. At a certain point, taking photos stops being a purpose and becomes proof that she made it out alive. Lee's journey moves in the opposite direction. She already paid this price years ago. Now, when she looks at Jessie, it's as if she's seeing her younger self. She tries to protect her while slowly realizing that some transformations can't be stopped. Joel is still chasing the story, a line, a headline, a moment worth publishing. But even he begins to understand that journalism in this environment slowly turns into nothing more than archiving brutality. Civil War refuses to create heroes. There are no speeches, no clear moral declarations, because war doesn't test ideals, it tests how much a person can endure. And in the end, it doesn't leave victory behind, it leaves witnesses. As Washington draws closer, the film doesn't expand, it tightens. The sound design quiets down. Moments stretch longer. Waiting becomes heavier. It feels less like approaching a city and more like approaching a knot tightening around everyone's throat. At this point, the story stops moving forward and starts counting down. Every stop feels like the one before the end. The question is no longer what will happen, but who won't make it there. The conflicts grow larger, more organized, more ruthless. Yet the film still refuses to clearly name sides. This is deliberate, because it discards the question of who's right and replaces it with something harsher. What does being right matter once everything has collapsed? The journalists appear to be racing toward a goal, but with every step, they witness more of a country tearing itself apart, and the feeling grows stronger. Reaching Washington isn't an ending, it's a darker threshold. As the final act begins, the film slows down instead of rushing forward. It stretches time, forcing us to feel the weight of everything that led here. There's no road left, no more stops, only one objective, the White House. And as they get closer, the film quietly suggests something unsettling. Not everyone is going to reach this point. As the journalists follow soldiers inside, there's no sense of triumph. The corridors are cold, voices are clipped, faces are empty. Everyone keeps moving, not because they believe in something, but because stopping is no longer an option. And here, the film deliberately makes us wait, not for whether the president will be captured, but for a heavier question. When this moment arrives, who will still be standing? When the president is finally caught, the dramatic moment we expect never comes. There's no speech, no manifesto, no justification, only fear and a stripped-down reality. And then the image is prepared, the photograph. It looks like proof of victory, but it doesn't feel like one. This is where Lee's story quietly ends, and Jessie takes her place. The camera changes hands, the witnesses change, but the system remains. And even after the president is killed, the film refuses to say it's over, because war doesn't end, it only changes shape. The most disturbing thing about Civil War is this. The film never gives you the relief of choosing a side. That's intentional. Alex Garland isn't interested in ideology. He's exploring the psychology of collapse. The journalists reveal the film's core idea. History isn't always shaped by heroes. Sometimes it's shaped by documentation. As conflict escalates, the debate over who's right becomes meaningless. What remains is the record of what happened, and that record doesn't save anyone. It only freezes the truth. That's why the final photograph isn't a victory, it's a legacy. Years later, someone will look at that image and ask one question: how did it come to this? The film goes silent there. Because sometimes the most terrifying answer isn't a sentence, it's the absence of one. Civil War reminds us of something uncomfortable. History isn't always written by those who win. Sometimes it's recorded by those who survive. If you enjoy videos that don't just summarize films but break down what they're really saying, consider subscribing to the channel. And now I want to hear from you. Leave a single sentence in the comments. Should Civil War have taken a clear side? Or is its silence the strongest critique it could make? See you in the next story.